You think you know the person you married until one innocent question from your daughter makes you realize you've been sleeping next to a traitor. In today's story, you'll follow a father, a man who once sacrificed everything just to keep his family together, until he discovered that his wife had been secretly cheating with someone he trusted, a close coworker and friend. But instead of screaming, instead of exploding in rage or causing a public scene, he chose the smartest way to strike back with evidence, with the law, and with a twist no one saw coming. This isn't just a story about betrayal. It's a masterclass in emotional survival for anyone who's ever loved the wrong person. So sit down, open your heart, and remember, sometimes silence cuts deeper than any blade. Chapter 1. My wife changed, but I never expected this. I used to think I was the luckiest man alive. I married the girl I'd loved since we were young. We didn't have much money, no grand plans for the future, but we had each other, and to me that was enough. She used to smile at me every morning, rest her hand on her belly whenever we talked about our future kids, and swore she'd stay with me even when you're just a bald old man with 2 teeth left. We were that weird happy couple, the kind our friends would joke about. You two are probably going to be glued to each other till you're 80. But then, that glued to each other feeling slowly got replaced by a phone. At first, I didn't think much of it. I figured she was just busy with work or needed to unwind a bit. But after a few months, everything changed. Our conversations became shorter. Our hugs turned rushed. Her eyes stopped looking at me and stayed fixed on that glowing screen. She laughed more at her phone than she did with me. I started to feel like a stranger in my own home. One day, while we were sitting on the couch watching TV, I glanced over and saw her endlessly scrolling through her phone. And I said, half joking, half pleading, "How about we try a phone-free week? Just spend some real time together." She didn't even look up, just said, "Yeah, go ahead." And so I did. I turned off notifications, deleted social media, and dedicated every minute after work to my family, to her, and to our little daughter. I took our daughter to the park, cooked meals, suggested we rewatch that college-era movie we both used to love, and she just buried herself even deeper into her screen. Whenever I asked her, she'd say, "I'm handling work stuff." But whenever I happened to walk by, it was always Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. There were even moments where I'd walk into the room and she'd flip her phone face down like it was an instinct, like someone hiding something. I'm not a jealous guy. I'm not paranoid. But the worst part wasn't the suspicion that she might be cheating. It was the feeling that I no longer mattered. She used to be the first woman I ever loved, the one I built a home with, the mother of my amazing daughter, and yet now I didn't even know what she was thinking. I kept trying. I told myself maybe she was stressed, maybe she needed space. I thought if I'm just patient enough, she'd come back. She'd look at me the way she used to. But I was wrong, and I only realized it when our daughter, with one innocent question, shattered the last illusion I was still clinging to. Chapter 2. The Question. My daughter asked that shattered my heart. That night, I was doing the dishes after dinner when my daughter, little Ellie, walked into the kitchen clutching her old, worn-out teddy bear, her voice bright and innocent like always. "Daddy, how come you don't play with Uncle Nick anymore?" I almost dropped the plate in my hand. Nick was my best friend. A brother, really. We went to college together, shared a crappy apartment, got drunk on rooftops with warm beer and empty pockets, and still laughed like life was perfect. He was the first person I told when my wife got pregnant, the one I chose to be Ellie's godfather. And now my daughter's asking why I don't play with him anymore. I tried to keep my voice steady. "I've just been busy, sweetie." "Why do you ask?" Ellie tilted her head in that carefree way kids do, completely unaware that their innocent curiosity can pierce an adult's heart like a knife. "Because Uncle Nick comes over to play with mommy a lot when you're at work. He even slept over the other day. I thought he was going to be my new daddy." I froze. Part of me wanted to scream, "No, that can't be true." But another part started connecting all the dots I'd been trying so hard to ignore. The secretive messages she kept hiding. The late nights with the excuse of meetings. The way her cheeks flushed whenever I asked, "Hey, how's Nick these days?" And now, my own daughter, completely unaware, confirmed that my so-called best friend had been coming to the house when I wasn't home. There's no word strong enough to describe the pain of betrayal, not by one person, but by two people you trusted the most. I didn't yell. I didn't break anything. I didn't want Ellie to see that side of me. Instead, I knelt down, pulled her into a hug, and whispered, "I'm sorry you had to see that, sweetheart." She didn't understand. Of course she didn't. But I knew from that moment on my life would never be the same. That night, I lay beside the woman I once loved with all my heart. She slept soundly as if nothing was wrong. And me, I stared at the ceiling the whole night, asking myself one question over and over again. How blind was I not to see this coming? Chapter 3. I turned my pain into a plan and started watching my wife. From the very next morning, I stopped being the clueless husband, still hoping his wife would magically come back to who she used to be. I woke up with a dull ache in my chest, but this time, instead of letting it drown me like always, I turned it into something else. A cold, bone-deep chill. The kind that forces your mind to wake up, to see clearly. No more confronting her. No more asking questions. No more begging for honesty. This time I wanted the truth, all of it, and I wasn't going to let anyone manipulate me with crocodile tears or excuses. So I started paying attention. She said she was going to work early. I checked the GPS tracker on her car, still connected to our family management app she'd forgotten I had access to. The car didn't move until 10 a.m., and during that window, our doorbell cam caught Nick showing up. Carrying takeout and wearing a smile I used to know. But the most painful part wasn't seeing him walk into my house. It was watching him walk out, wearing one of my t-shirts. Another time she told me she was going out for dinner with some girlfriends from work. I nodded, kissed her forehead, like the sweet husband the neighbors still believed I was. But that night I drove out and parked near the restaurant she claimed she'd be at. There were no girlfriends, just Nick. And the way the two of them looked at each other, I hadn't seen her look at me like that in years. I started documenting everything. Their texts, photos from the doorbell camera, her odd movement patterns, the work trips that didn't line up. I even contacted an old friend of mine, a guy in IT, to help me recover social media accounts she thought she'd deleted. And there it was. Conversations where they debated whether or not to go public, shared plans, and a hidden drive folder full of private photos. Photos I was never allowed to see. I remember this one moment Nick had put his arm around me at Ellie's birthday party. He smiled and said, "You're a great dad, man. Ellie's lucky to have you." He looked me dead in the eyes like a man who was sleeping with his best friend's wife. And I stood there, believing I had a happy little family. Betrayal doesn't always come like a thunderstorm. Sometimes it creeps in like a quiet drizzle, one drop at a time, slicing through you bit by bit. And before you realize it, you're completely soaked. But I didn't break. I wasn't the kind of man to send angry texts, scream at walls, or cry into my pillow. I stayed quiet, and I started building a plan. Chapter 4. I let the two traitors think they were winning. I didn't blow up. No screaming, no smashing plates, no calling my mother-in-law to tell on her daughter. I knew that if I lost control, it would only give them ammunition. They'd twist it, paint me as the controlling husband, the insecure man who couldn't keep his wife. So instead, I chose a different path. I became the perfect husband. I bought her flowers, cooked more often, spent time with our daughter. And I always smiled. I complimented her in front of others. Posted happy family photos on Facebook with captions like, "The luckiest man alive to have you." I tagged her in every single one. And you know what's funny? She bought it. She actually started acting guilty, not because she was truly remorseful, but because she thought I had no clue. She thought she was so clever that she dodged the bullet, that she had outsmarted her clueless husband. And Nick, oh, he kept playing the role of the best friend. still dropping by, still putting a hand on my shoulder like he owned the place. You're so lucky to have a family like this, man. I smiled back, but this time behind that smile was a fully formed plan, one I was now executing piece by piece. I met with a lawyer quietly. I gathered everything: texts, screenshots, images, doorbell camera footage, time logs. I scheduled a meeting with an appraiser to value our home and any joint assets. I opened a separate bank account, slowly transferring small amounts, just enough not to raise suspicion. I also started documenting everything involving our daughter: who picked her up, who stayed home when she was sick, who packed her lunch, because I knew that if things escalated to a custody battle, I had to be the one the court saw as the primary caregiver. But all of that was just the groundwork. The most important part was choosing the right moment to end the show. And I knew exactly what that would be: our wedding anniversary, the perfect day for her to suddenly have a last-minute meeting, and the perfect day for Nick to be coincidentally free. I planned a romantic dinner, upscale restaurant reserved a month in advance. Flowers, candles, a nostalgic playlist, everything on paper looked like a dream. I handed her a card with the invitation: "This Friday, let me take you back to where it all began." She gave me that fake little smile and said I might be stuck at work that day, but I'll try. I nodded, kissed her cheek, and said, "That's okay. I trust you." And just like I predicted that evening, she texted me, "I'm so sorry, baby. Got pulled into an urgent meeting." "Don't be mad, okay?" I replied. "It's okay. Take care of work. Love you." Then I turned off my phone, got into my car, and drove straight to the hotel, the one I'd booked 2 weeks in advance. The same hotel where Nick and my wife checked in at 6:17 p.m. I know the exact time because the front desk clerk, whom I tipped generously, had already sent me the security footage. I didn't enter their room. I didn't need to see them in bed. I just needed the final puzzle piece for my lawyer. I let them have their sinful night uninterrupted, because I knew by morning they'd both wake up and realize their world was about to collapse. And me, I'd never felt so calm in my life. Chapter 5. I sent a morning gift and watched them both fall apart. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual, brewed myself a cup of coffee, opened my laptop, and hit send on a few pre-written emails. One went to my lawyer, one to my wife's company directly to HR with her manager CC'd, and one final email to Nick himself. Subject line: "Thank you, best friend." In the email to her company, I didn't insult anyone. I didn't throw accusations around. I simply laid it out clearly. My wife has been having an affair with her coworker, Nick, full name. It's happened multiple times, including during working hours. I have solid evidence: GPS logs, camera footage, and recorded audio. I didn't demand anything from the company. I just said I wanted transparency before proceeding with divorce filings and a custody claim. No slander, no exaggeration, just the truth, and all the proof to back it up. I attached everything: photos, messages, video clips from our doorbell cam, even a detailed timeline that cross-referenced her office hours with her car's GPS location. 15 minutes later, I received a reply from her company: "We've received your report. An internal review will begin immediately." By 10 a.m., my wife called me sobbing. She was screaming into the phone. "What did you do? What did you send to my office?" I simply said I did the right thing. "Maybe you should too." An hour later, Nick finally called me, the first time since he started sleeping with my wife. He sounded panicked, scrambling, like a man who just realized he'd been caught. "Bro, I think there's been a misunderstanding." I cut him off. A misunderstanding is when you accidentally wear my t-shirt, but when you wear my shirt and then sleep with my wife on the same night, that's called betrayal. And I hung up. Then came my favorite part: court. I filed for divorce that same week with a complete case file of evidence, not just for separation, but full custody of our daughter, and a no-contact order between Nick and my child because I refused to let her grow up around two hypocrites who pretended love while stabbing others in the back. My lawyer was brilliant, but more importantly, I was prepared. When my wife received the court summons, she showed up at our house. Gone was the cold, confident mask. No more smugness, no more games. She collapsed on the porch like a child, crying her eyes out, saying she didn't know it would go this far. I just stood there, silent. Because the truth is, I'd already spoken to our daughter. I had explained things to her in the gentlest, most age-appropriate way I could, that mom and dad wouldn't be living together anymore, but that I would always love her, and I would never, ever let anyone hurt her, not even by accident. And you know what she asked me? Is mommy going to stay with Uncle Nick now? I didn't answer. I didn't have to, because in that moment, her eyes full of sadness, quiet disappointment, and something deeper than any kid should ever have to feel said, everything for me. Chapter 6. At last I heard the two words that were worth everything: I'm sorry. The divorce didn't happen quietly, but I won, piece by piece. The court granted me full custody of our daughter. My ex-wife got visitation rights, but under one condition: Nick was never allowed anywhere near my child. That clause, I requested it. She didn't dare contest it, because we both knew if I submitted even one more recording, even one more piece of evidence, she'd lose everything, including her parental rights. She still worked at her old company. Well, she used to. After I sent that report, she was suspended for 2 weeks, then quietly reassigned to a much lower position. It was corporate speak for face-saving demotion. As for Nick, he was fired. No formal notice, no explanations, just your services are no longer required. 1 month later, I heard he'd moved to another city, left behind the place that had become his little betrayal playground. And honestly, I wasn't surprised. Everyone knew. Even though I never went public, never blasted them online, neighbors, coworkers, mutual friends, they all had an idea. Enough whispers. Enough clues. I never needed to tarnish their names. The truth rots all on its own. And me, I started over. I poured all my energy into my daughter. We started painting together. Sunday mornings became make-your-own pizza day, something her mom never liked before because it made the kitchen a mess. I got back to the gym, got a haircut, cleaned up the house, got rid of everything that reminded me of the old life. You know what? I didn't need someone new to replace what I lost. I just needed the pain to stop knocking on my door, disguised as someone I used to love. Then one day, I got an email from my ex-wife. Just one sentence: I'm sorry. For everything. I read it, then hit archive. No reply. No response. No need. I didn't need her apology. I just needed to see my daughter smile every morning and no longer wonder what her parents were hiding from her. I'm not angry anymore, but I haven't forgotten either. I forgave, but I will never again let someone cross that line and still expect to stay in my life. I didn't lose my wife. I freed myself from someone who never deserved me. And that's the victory worth celebrating. Chapter 7. It wasn't the end. It was the beginning. It's been over a year since I walked away from that marriage. I used to believe that losing a wife meant losing a family, that being a single dad would always mean being incomplete. But I was wrong, because what I have now isn't half a family. It's a full one. Healthy, peaceful, real. Ellie's growing up faster than I expected. She doesn't ask about her mom as much anymore. Instead, she'll ask me things like, "Daddy, when I grow up, will I get to choose who I trust?" I hold her close and say, "Of course you will. That's your right. It always will be." Because if there's one lesson I've learned from all of this, it's this: trust is the most precious thing we can give another person. And once it's broken, once it's stepped on, it never returns quite the same. I don't hate my ex-wife anymore. I don't care about Nick. They might feel guilty. They might not. They could stay together or ruin someone else's life next. I don't care. I'm not here to follow their story. I'm here to build mine one day at a time, with the only person who truly deserves it: my daughter. I'm no longer the man who ignored his instincts. No longer the man who tried to be the good guy while getting stabbed in the back. I've learned that I don't need to apologize for being firm, and I will never feel guilty for protecting myself again. People often say I was lucky. Lucky to have proof. Lucky to have a great lawyer. Lucky to have struck back at the perfect time. But you know what? What truly saved me wasn't the footage, wasn't the texts, wasn't even the legal strategy. It was a simple, innocent question from a 6-year-old I thought Uncle Nick was going to be my new daddy. That question from my daughter's mouth shattered every illusion I was still clinging to and gave me the one thing I desperately needed, a reason to stand back up. So if you, the person listening to this right now, are in that place of doubt, if you feel like you're losing yourself just to hold onto a relationship that's slowly poisoning you, here's what I want you to remember. Not everyone who betrays you deserves your hatred, but you deserve to love without constantly watching your back. That's the end of my story. And if you've listened this far, thank you. Because sometimes all it takes is one person willing to listen to change someone's entire life. If you've made it this far, thank you. Thank you for listening to the full journey, one filled with pain, but also strength of a man betrayed by the very people he trusted most. This story isn't meant to teach you how to get revenge. It's here to remind you of one simple truth. You don't have to forgive someone who isn't sorry, and you absolutely have the right to walk away for your own sake and for the people you love. If you've ever been through something like this, or if this story hit a little too close to home, drop a comment below. And if you want to hear more stories that are raw, real, and sometimes painfully true, straight from Reddit, like share and subscribe to True Reddit Reads, where the truths no one dares to say finally get told.